All righty, let's get this going.
Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to Bullet Point Bulletins weekly wrap-up show. I'm Bruce Burke. Our show today is being powered by Plato Data Intelligence, private, secure, trusted Web3 data intelligence. For more news and information about Plato, visit platodata.ai. Again, that's Plato, P-L-A-T-O, data, D-A-T-A.ai. And I'm here with my longtime friend and co-host, Tedd Huff of Fintech Confidential. Ted, please tell the audience what we're going to be discussing on our story today.
Bruce, thanks for having me, man. I'm coming to you guys with a super high-resolution camera today of 720p. We're going to be giving you the best quality video we possibly can. Hopefully we make up it with the audio. But this week, we're going to be covering Square offering an American Express card, FTX firing 3 of their top executives, the UK starting to do some BNPL regulation, Binance saying don't buy in the dip, and last but not least, we're going to talk about the SEC enforcement remaining focused on crypto. So we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. Bruce, what is going on with Square offering an American Express card?
Well, I think the wrap up that I did, the most outstanding fact and the most interesting fact is they're just now doing a credit card. First time ever that they're offering it to their merchants, right? The people that are using Square to process payments for their business. But I mean, they kind of started fintech, right? Back when you and I were around and I started social mobile payments. Social mobile payments was kind of came out of Dorsey, inventing Square and sticking it into the iPhone. It really did. It kind of led to that. And it's interesting that happened in 2012, something like that. I don't even know. And they're just now starting to get into a credit card. I mean, they started processing credit cards a long time ago.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about this story is that, everybody's used to hearing about American Express being not only the issuer, but also the processor and doing everything in the middle. And this is one of those situations where Amex has gone outside of that loop and is leveraging other parties. So you've got a program manager, I2C, that's going to be managing the program on behalf of Square. And then on top of that, you have a bank outside of American Express as a financial institution and a financial company, issuing the card. So it's going to be very similar to issuing a prepaid card, which is really what this is, but underneath of a bank that's not American Express, delivered by a company that is not American Express. So really, this is just an American Express branded card. It really doesn't go much further than being that. And I think it's interesting that they've decided to do that. I'm still looking to figure out how they're going to handle it and what additional benefits they're going to give to this. Because Amex is not one of the companies that plays in the push to card space. You have Visa and MasterCard that play in push to card where you can get the funds instantly on the card. So I wonder if they're going to be doing a little bit of floating some of the funds to get those funds available for everybody right away.
In all the articles I read about it, they were kind of tight-lipped about the details. The one detail that they did go into, it was going to be integrated into Square's banking suite that they have for their customers also. So essentially your credit card statement is going to show up as a credit card in there, or is it going to be like Revolution Money back in the day that Steve Case delivered and eventually became Bluebird. It was what I called credit back then. They issued you a line of credit, but they processed it on the debit rail. It was available. You could process it. Very few retailers. Macy's was one of them. There was some arenas and stuff like that. It eventually became the Amex Bluebird card, that's popular at Walmart now. But it seems like it's going to be different, but they haven't really said how yet.
Yeah, and that's what's really interesting about this story is that they talk about it. It feels like a Me Too play. It feels like what Chime did. It feels like what other neobank type companies have done. And, we'll only know when we actually start to see it out in the real world. Or is it going to feel like just like every other neobank? Is it going to feel like we are just, it's add-on, it's plugged in, it's bolted on, or is it going to feel fully enveloped in that Square ecosystem, which is what they're known for, is really giving that nice simplified experience across everything. So it really is going to only be told as it starts to roll out, and I'm looking forward to really seeing that. And like you said, they've been around forever.
If you think about the other side of the house, right? They've already got Cash App. They already really have a debit platform, right? I mean, the Cash App is essentially a debit platform, right? It is PayPal, if you want to call it that, and this seems like, if you wanted to put it in tiers as far as like, entry level, I would say Cash App is your entry level, your underserved market in a lot of cases, not all cases, but a lot of cases. And then one step above that would be this for their merchants. And then, if they already have a partnership and they're already, I really just couldn't see Amex when Square first came out, decades ago, right? I can't see them jumping right into bed with Square, but now they're allowing Square to brand a card using their name, and that's really setting a precedent for Square,
Yeah, one of the things is as we're sitting here talking about it, it makes me think of this allows. And I'm thinking about it this way. So there's all these merchant cash advance type companies out in the marketplace where I will give you a loan or I will give you a line of credit based upon your credit card sales. Now, what I can see Square doing with this is saying I get to see all of their credit card volume. Not only do I get to see that because I give them a point of sale system, I get to see their cash. So I get to see everything that happens with this particular merchant. So I know what my true exposure is. And because I'm in the flow of funds, I can reduce my overarching risk around credit. And so I can see them leveraging it that way, maybe being able to give people a larger line of credit in order to get that to be used. And who's to say that they're not going to get rewards back for using that or discounted fees? There's so many things that could go into that space by leveraging that because Square gets to see everything. They get to see cash. They get to see credit. They get to see the products that they're selling, how long the products are on the shelf, how many of the things that they get so much data.
Yeah.
So I think that really allows them to do that. And that's it's a good step for them.
It will give them a real well-rounded offering, and it'll almost be able to give them similar to what Cabbage, how Cabbage started. They started with, give us access to your PayPal, right? And we'll give you a line of credit if you need it to get over the toll bridge. And, so maybe it's a play like that.
Which, by the way, Cabbage is now owned by American Express too. So it's American Express small business lending. So that makes a lot of sense as well.
One thing they did stress was it was going to allow Square to compete in the commercial banking business rather than the retail credit business. So that's a little different too. So if you really think on the surface, this is just this is a Square card with the American Express logo and a bank
but
logo
it goes so much
back,
deeper
right?
than that.
There's a lot more, man. There's a lot when you really start digging into this story. There's a lot there, and this guy Luke Boyles, who did the announcement and is a spokesperson now. Luke's career has gone back and back and back. He was at QuickBooks. He was he's done everything in the financial market segment, and very, very interesting that, I guess that's his thing. He's the face and the voice, I'm sure Dorsey's not doing it, but I think it's interesting that, like I said, something that started out as just, hey, we figured out a new way to process credit cards. And it really wasn't anything new. It was just that he was Jack from Twitter then, there was already other people doing that. He just made it popular. He was able to popularize it in the media,
Yeah. And I think the big thing that Square did is they took a design and a consumer first approach, which no one had really done. They took a handful of processes that were in the marketplace and delivered it singularly. So it wasn't new tech. It wasn't new functionality. It wasn't new anything. It was packaged in a way that made sense to the market, which is a really, really big deal. And, I'm going to move on to one of our other stories, Bruce, which is the buy now, pay later. I mean, that's just a new way of lending money as well. And as I mentioned in the intro, the UK government is really going to start to strengthen the regulation around this, around the credit agreements, to make sure that the public is being protected and make sure that people can actually afford to pay all these buy now, pay laters, because there are so many in different ways that you can do it. You can lose track of it relatively quickly. But what other things did you pull out of that report? For me, I pulled out of it really is like, there's not a good way to keep track of all of it. So the UK government is going to try and figure out how to take care of that on behalf of the consumer.
Yeah, it seems like from what I took out of it, the fintech firms, the Klarnas and Zips and all the rest of them that are doing it are going to have to be approved by the what is it called? The Financial
Conduct Authority.
Conduct Authority, the FCA, right? And consumers will go through some kind of ombudsman program to make a complaint. So it's two different organizations. One is going to approve it. The other one will deal directly with the consumers. But it seems like they are going to have to do some kind of more diligence before they hand over that loan to the consumer. They're going to have to make it said that they wanted to make sure it was affordable to that consumer. So I don't know, is it, 1/4 of their monthly or, like rent, that kind of concept, or, what their parameters are, but they seem to be protecting in other ways on loans. So, that will carry forth, I'm sure,
It makes me think of some of the ways that companies are managing their risk with merchants, with consumers. And I think back to a guest that I had on FinTech Confidential, which is Vital Card. And they don't just use a credit score to get somebody approved or to determine what line of credit is. They look into their social media. I believe they look into social media. I'm not for certain. But I do know for certain that, they'll leverage something like a Plaid or other data aggregation software like an mx.com or something of that nature to really pull in the data from the bank account to see, hey, is this person that I'm wanting to give a line of credit to, are they able to pay it back? Not does a credit score say can they pay it back, but do they have enough funds in their bank account at the end of the month to pay this back? And I can see that the UK government says, okay, so hey, Mr. Buy Now, Pay Later, you're going to have to verify that they have the means in which to pay this back. And so that may require them to leverage a service like this or to leverage open banking, all the open banking protocols, because remember, in Europe, open banking is a really, really big thing. And so you have access to all of this data. So they're probably going to have to go in and validate that there's enough check at the end of the month versus more month than there is of the money in the bank account. And so I think they're probably going to end up getting into that range as well. But what that's also going to do by diving in, it's going to allow them to see how many buy now, pay laters are hitting their account, which is going to be really interesting for competition and looking at how do we approach this. And they'll see how many they have and who they have it with and what the dollar amounts are. And so they'll start to really be able to figure it. And on top of that, they'll probably be able to figure out whether or not they're on installment 3, installment 2, installment 1, or are they on installment 4 out of 4 installments? Because that's most of them do 4 installments. But if you're on 4 installments, if I am your buy now, pay later company, I'm going to say, hey, you're almost done with your installment payment.
Let's
from
get you in some more debt
company.
right away. Let's get you something new.
Exactly. But what I could do is that buy now, pay later. Yeah.
Or the concept of consolidating all your buy now, pay laters into a single buy now, pay later.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting that even though they said they were throwing their hat in the ring, Apple kind of backed up on their buy now, pay later and said they're not. It may be software. It may be they were kind of aware of the UK government getting ready to install this. Mm-hmm. But they haven't. They backed up and they haven't said another word since they said we're going to delay it now. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
To me.
With Apple and their buy now, pay later, I think my personal opinion, what I see happen is that like buy now, pay later makes a whole lot of sense for some things. And then they went and they looked at like the relationship they have with Citizens First and the 0 interest, pay it over X number of months. And they're like, wait a second, we kind of already do this for our products. And then they looked at their card program and like, oh, we kind of do that there too. Could we not just make it an extension of our card and mitigate some of the risk? And then they start looking at the complexity of managing all 3 of those. And they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, the CFPB in the U.S. is really tightening down on this. And now you start to see where the FCA in the U.K. is tightening down on it. You're hearing other places in the EU starting to tighten down on it. And rightly so. They're probably just saying, hey, let's put a pause on this. Let's see where all this goes. Let's figure out how this is going to turn out. Because they're never the first person to the party. But when they do come to the party, they always have a very well thought out, a very well delivered product and service. And I'm betting you that it just wasn't going to deliver the experience that they felt was equal to what their customers would expect from Apple. And if it's not going to be at that level or better, they're just not going to do it.
There's no magic in it. If there's no magic, nobody's going to do it, right? It lacks magic, right? What they said when they were about to release it, and they did actually make a statement that we're slowing down on it or backing up on it. It's not going to be as released as soon as we thought it was. Essentially, is what they said. They also said that. It would automatically be it would be divided into 4 payments, whatever that cost was. And that's what it would be. And it was very singular thought, whereas a lot of the other ones seem to offer a wide variety of ideas and concepts and stuff. So this is where Apple's buy now, pay later would be different than, say, like, financing a MacBook on your Apple card, you know what I mean, with a $15 a month payment, or, everything that's on their website now, short of the cleaning cloth, has a monthly charge, not the cleaning cloth and not the Apple Pencil, but everything just above $100,
which is just about every one of their products. But hey, that's a different story.
Let's not talk about a $99 silicone case for your phone. It's not important to talk about.
But hey, there's a lot of things that are going on in that area. There are a lot of BNPLs all over the globe that are readjusting and reconfiguring. And I talked about this with BHMI, which is kind of funny. BHMI, about how BNPL, we got some acronyms rolling here, right? Is buy now, pay later is kind of in this really neat spot right now where the interest rates are going up. So they're trying to figure out how they generate the cash flow. But at the same time, because the interest rates are going up, more people are going towards it. And this is going to impact the merchants, which is going to, like, there's all this waterfall that starts coming into place. But I think BNPL over the course of the next year or two is going to have another uptick, but it's going to feel a little bit different than what it has for the last 2 or 3. And it's going to be for the larger size purchases. It's not going to be for the little ones. Did I lose you, Bruce?
No, I'm right here. I'm right here. Okay. Everything's fine. My take on it always from the very beginning is it seems like the consumers that they're targeting are consumers that are preyable, right? And I've always called it buy now, pray later, right? PREY, right? Not pray, but pray, and
not PREY, but PRAY.
Yeah. Well, for those people that are actually taking on those loans, it might be a pray later, right? For the companies that are giving out those loans, it might be a pray later.
Yeah.
But it seems so swarmy, in some ways to me. I was at a discount shoe store picking up some sneakers, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I noticed they had a service had a purple logo on. I couldn't remember the name of it right off the top.
Most likely Afterpay.
Was it? And I didn't notice it until I was almost ready to buy, and it didn't appeal to me for the buy. But I found it interesting that they were offering in a shoe store, which seemed kind of like a family shoe store. It was back to school time, right? They had the kids all there, and everybody was getting their annual shoe on. And I asked the woman, I said, do you get a lot of people that are, taking this buy now, pay later? Are they interested in this? Are they doing this? She goes, I haven't had one in the 4 months that it's been in here. Nobody's doing it. But it wasn't very well advertised in the store. It wasn't very well explained. It wasn't very well advertised. The stuff wasn't particularly eye-catching, even with a purple color. And it wasn't a very good come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's really difficult. I mean, anytime you do financing in store, it's always going to be hard because it's always going to feel like an add-on. It's always going to feel like an afterthought. And I think it does a lot better on e-commerce. So now what ends up happening, at least my perspective, is that they see it in the store and they go, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. And then they go online and they see it and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to try this out. But one of the things, like I have a good friend that has a buy now, pay later, that one of the things that they're transitioning to is being more of a installment company, tied directly to a credit card. So instead of you having to figure out it coming out of your bank account or other things, it just becomes an installment program that e-commerce merchants can use that just runs off the credit card. So it sits on top of it. It makes it really convenient, really easy. It's kind of funny because it's a debt on top of, you could look at it as a debt on top of a debt, but what it really does is harkens back to the days of your late night infomercials where it's 4 easy payments using your credit card to get it going. But I think you're going to see a lot more of that type of stuff come out in the wash over here in the next years. But there's so much stuff going on in that area, and it's going to continue to evolve. But man, we haven't even hit. We've got 3 stories here, all about crypto. Let's continue the saga that we've had. So I mean,
by the way,
that
coming out of the gate on FTX, I have to correct myself. Last week, I took information from a CoffeeZilla video where he said that Sam was getting on a plane and heading to Argentina or something like that. That didn't happen. Sam's still there. Sam was, as of Friday, still trying to find some investors to back him and keep things going. But I just wanted to correct myself on that from last week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the funny part is that when we were reporting on that and we were having this call, there were like 3 different things going on, right? So it was Sam's going to Argentina, Sam's going to Abu Dhabi, Sam's going to Dubai, Sam's going and the funny part is that after that, the Bahamian authorities said, yeah, no, we've got him. He's not going anywhere. And even what happened after the fact, and then we'll get into the story, but what even after the fact is that, we talked about FTX filing bankruptcy in the US, and the government in the Bahamas says, hey, guess what? you weren't legally allowed, based upon the way the company is structured, to file for bankruptcy. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. But not only that, but I mean, we had Sam that stepped down for being CEO. And then after that, just this week, FTX fired the other top 3 executives, including one of the other co-founders, Gary Wang, and engineering director Nishad Singh, and the ever so popular meme Carolyn Ellison. So she was running the Alameda Research. So it's been really interesting to see how that's happening. I still don't see how they're going to recover from this, but hey, you never know, man. You never know.
There was an interesting take. I read an article this morning in The Guardian. I think it was the opinion piece, because it was called The Observer, and I think that's how they delegate that, but I'm not sure. But it was in The Guardian, and it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek piece about FTX, but their description of these 3 people were they were 3 small children in a trench coat trying to assume the identity of a full-grown male adult.
You mean like back when
when the kids used to sneak into the movies, right? And that's
so it makes me think of watching the reruns of The Little Rascals when I was a little kid. And watching them try that. And then, of course, seeing it with Alvin the Chipmunks, they tried that. Heck, on Phineas and Ferb, like you watch every single thing. There's always kids trying to pretend to be adults. And yeah, this kind of does feel like that a little bit. Kind of feels like
it's almost like when you're reading the FTX news, there should be like the Benny Hill soundtrack, the closing song, like playing in the background to me. That's what it feels like to me. That's what should be going on, because that's what it feels like. It feels like it was the biggest farce in the world. I mean, in doing the report, I did some investigation into these people that were the executives of the firm. I mean, there was like 25 people running this company.
Yeah.
It was very, very small company. And these 3 or 4 people had access to some of the huge, huge, huge amounts of money. And now today they're saying that this 600 million or whatever that was left over that went out, all of a sudden that's starting to be put into REN BTC. I don't know anything about REN BTC, but it's a variable of Bitcoin, apparently. And back in 2021, Sam had made an announcement about the REN BTC crew was joining with FTX, and we're going to be a part of it and do some things with some other blockchains. So it's kind of funny that this 600 million going out the back door turned into REN BTC, because apparently it's not very popular, not much used. So I don't know much about it.
Yeah, and just to kind of going back to one of the instigators of all of this fun collapse. I mean, if you look, CZ, he's even talking about, hey, don't buy crypto, don't buy the dip, which I think is really interesting, because we talked last week, they were thinking it was going to get down to 12,000 a coin, right? Now we're hearing anywhere from 5 to 10,000 a coin. So I think that may be kind of where he's going at it is, hey, it's still got a little bit of ways to go down, and trying to warn people like, hey, and we talked about this last week, do your own research, do where you feel comfortable. And I'll just say it this way. If you don't feel comfortable losing the money, don't put it in there. Don't put all your savings in there unless you're comfortable letting it all go. Right. But it's just like anything. The market goes up and down, whether you're talking about the stock market, you're talking about bonds, you're talking about any sort of investment. It's always an up and down. It's always an ebb and flow. So this is going to have an ebb and flow as well. You may get in at the right time, you may get in at the wrong time, but you can never time the market. That's the only guarantees you can.
It's like
never...
trying to buy. Where do you buy into the Apple lineup? You know, like you're always going to take it on the chin, right? You're never going to do it right. You think you did it right, you didn't do it right.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. There are so many going into that. I mean, there's so many options for a MacBook now and an iPad. I'm like, which iPad do I buy? now they all support a pencil, so which one do I buy now? And how much memory do I really need? And like, which processor is really gonna, like, it's just as confusing. So just know that no matter what you buy, you're going to be wrong.
Yes.
No matter what coin you buy.
I found it interesting that CZ being the head of now the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, you know,
for now,
that, you know, he's putting out this, you know, now's not the time to do this. Now's not the time to, you know, be involved for most people, he said, right? He said, unless you're extremely mature, extremely confident, you know, can really withstand the impact of losing it all, right?
Yep.
Don't risk, right? But he also said, I'm going to build a Binance FDIC. Is pretty much what he said, a recovery fund. It seems like it's just a bailout fund that he's doing to help some people, but it seems like he also has that concept of FDIC for crypto, maybe only through Binance. But I think if all the exchanges got together on something like that,
see, and I struggle with that a lot.
Good.
I struggle with that a lot because my personal opinion is that you should never store any crypto on any exchange at any time unless you are using it. If you're going to use it, then if you're going to use it right now, then it's okay for it to be on the exchange. But you should just, the old adage,
what if I'm staking it to get more later, Ted? Like, I'm going to get 20% if I stake it for 288 days. That's what they told me. No, I'm kidding.
Well, and that's fine. But again, you have to be willing, if you're going to stake, you know, 10 ETH or 10 BTC or whatever it is, right? If you're going to stake that, just be ready to realize that, yeah, you might be getting 1.5% interest. You might. But are you willing to lose all of that for 1.5% interest right now?
While you're still talking about, self-custody rather than, exchange custody, what other caveats would you give investors right now that, not financial advice, but from
no financial advice.
From a technical perspective, what's the good thing to do if you're holding coins? How should they hold them?
So there's a handful of different ways you can do it, right? You can do a software wallet, you can do a browser wallet, or you can do a hardware wallet. And it really depends on how secure you want to make this, right? So you can do a software wallet that has access to internet, and you would hold a seed phrase, hold all this fun stuff. And that's one step beyond having the custody be at an exchange. And that's a little bit better. It's a lot better, but it's one step closer where you still hold the keys, but it's still software and it still can fail and it still can have its own issues and still could be hackable. And if you're going to do a software wallet, make sure you're downloading the software wallet from the actual place. Don't do a Google search. Don't do a Google search and find the wallet, because there are a lot of nefarious wallets. Exactly. There are a lot of nefarious wallet providers out there that are doing Google AdWords and getting themselves above in the list that can cause some issues. Then the next one you come is a browser wallet, things like a MetaMask. MetaMask is a little limited, but that's going to hit most people. If you're going to get outside of that, there are other wallets that are available that are browser-based wallets. Again, they're browser-based. Everything's hashed, everything's secured in there, but it is browser-based. But what that does is it gives you the ability to use it to transfer it out if you want to stake it, or to be able to purchase something if you want to use it that way. So that's what the browser wallet's going to do. And when you want to store something for a long time, so if you're going to hold it, you're gonna want to use And if your crypto stack is tall, then you're going to want to get it as far away from the internet as humanly possible. And you could use...
You're going to want to store it in a popcorn tin in your closet on a Raspberry Pi board.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that. But I mean, there are a lot of hardware wallets that are out there right now. Everything from a really simple one that just you plug it in and you do it. They all come with like these little seed phrase cards. That's really cool. But if you want to be really good about it, use it in a metal card. And there are plenty of them out there. I'm not going to recommend anyone individually today. We may put some stuff in the notes or something later, but there's that piece of it. You've got it all the way up to ones that are just like little mini computers, a little bit more bulky, but have touchscreen interfaces and you can see stuff. But it doesn't have anything out into the internet. And some of them even go even further that have really secure. They're double encrypted. They follow a bunch of encryption standards. They're air gapped, which basically means that you have multi-factor authentication, that there is no touching between the devices. So there's no way to really relinquish or to have it be hacked without not only the seed phrase, but also a PIN code and a couple other things. So it's multi-factor authentication. If you are holding on to a sizable stack of crypto, that's where you're going to go. And it's also, those also give you a lot more broad range of the types of crypto that you can hold. Also just the different coins and NFTs and all that fun stuff when you really get into them. And they range everywhere from like $50, maybe a little bit less, all the way up to like $500, $600, $700, depending on the solution you want to use. But that's truly up to you. How far do you want to take it?
Okay. You know a lot more about that than I do, and I have probably used a lot more than I have. I've gone as far as MetaMask on a browser base, and that's as far as I've ever gone. So what other stories are we still working on?
Oh my gosh! So the one that we've got left that we haven't hit on is really been really interesting. I mean, 2022 has been a big deal. The SEC is focused on crypto. And as we talked about in previous episodes, you've got the SEC fighting with other entities in the government over whether it's a security or a commodity. But SEC Chair Gensler says he's impressed with the enforcement results that are starting to come out of all these crypto pieces. They've filed there's bills on there. I think there are 3 or 4 bills on the Hill right now that are going through to really manage some of this stuff. You've got a cyber unit that's kicking off that are around this. There's just so many things. And this is some of the things that I talked about early on with FTX is that, this hurts. This hurts really bad. But it's like just about any other thing we have that shows a weakness, we tend to come back a lot stronger. We come back with better regulation. We come back with better ways to do things to protect people, but at the same time, still be able to innovate. And I think that's what we're starting to see with the way that the government is looking to put guardrails around this. And it doesn't feel like they're going too far yet, but that's to be seen, right?
It seems like from the article that I'm still doing the story on, that the SEC, rather than really being concerned about regulation, they're more concerned about enforcement. And they've pulled in $6.1 billion this year based on penalties and disengorgement, which I guess is give me that money. I don't know what the official meaning of disengorgement is, but I think it's give me that big stack of money back. And it seems like they're more concerned with prosecution and, kind of warning the industry that way than they are with a bunch of regulation until the lawmakers come in and start doing their thing, because there's been quite a bit of talk from the White House and Congress and everybody else, about more legislation. You wonder why more hasn't been done yet, but it's election time, so
Yeah. So I love Apple for this one thing, is that like I just double clicked on the word disengorgement, and realistically, I had to do it, man. I had to do it. But really, what it means is like, what was it? SEC filed 760 enforcement and recovered like $6.4 billion in penalties, and they called it disengorgement. But really what that means is like funds that the investing public had put into it. So they've been able to get that, and they've been able to give back the funds that they've collected back to the investing public. So this is, not all regulation is bad. Not all enforcement is bad. It feels like it sometimes, but realistically, what they've been able to do here is that some of the people that have been impacted by some of these rug pulls are really starting to get taken care of, and really start to maybe not become whole, but at least get something, right? And so I think that's been really nice to see that. And I think as they continue to do these enforcement actions and finding all the fraud that's going on, we're going to see them start to develop more clear regulation around that. That is, CFPB has their own view on it too, right? So we've got every protection, security, enforcement groups really looking at this and trying to figure out I don't know if they're trying to figure out how to play nicely, but it's sure starting to feel that way.
Yeah, it's in summation of all this, right? I mean, you've got, we're talking about buy now, pay later. We're talking about credit cards, right? With you got this bank issuing it, this credit card company's name on it, but essentially Square at the core of it, right? Doing the operations of it, right? And you got all these different things, and man, that's a lot of regulation and trying to write laws and legislation that fit, because these guys just, there's always another step. There's always a new innovation, and you can't get out ahead of it, right? You are really running to catch up with it. And you really have to understand it and really consider all the complexities of all the services and all the capabilities, and then all the fraud and all the, bad that could come out of it. And then write some laws that somehow, keep that innovation intact, so you can keep moving with it, right? And not have to back up and go the other way. It seems like like you said, they're trying to embrace it, the feds, and and I'm not just meaning the U.S. feds. It seems like the world, the G20 apparently made a statement about crypto as a whole, right? So it's not just us, the U.S. It's the world, at least the people in Indonesia right now, but it's. Those are the that's the Big Ten, you know what I mean? That's the college highlights, right? So that says a lot about it, and the fact that of all the issues that came up, that was one of them. That shows that there's a little more focus on it this year than there was the last couple of years, when all this shenanigans was just really going on, But it's interesting.
When you look at the thing that I've noticed, at least this year, is the support and understanding for the blockchain technology it is really started to get traction. People are seeing different ways that you can use the blockchain, and I'm super excited to see how people start to leverage it, because there are so many great things that we can do. That with it, we can speed up things. We can make them more secure. We can make them more reliable. I'm really excited to see what we start doing with blockchain in the next few years. And it's not. I think it
passed the hype cycle test. It passed the hype cycle test. It was hyped in the news, right? When it was following Bitcoin and the Bitcoin rise, but following the trough of disillusionment with Bitcoin, blockchain kind of rose back up and kind of said, hey, I'm not associated with that guy. I never met him. You know what I mean? I don't know that guy. We've been in photographs together, but I don't know that guy, and I'm different. I'm a different kind of guy. So And he is, and it is. And I think that, there's a lot more to come with blockchain. All these trials with the central bank digital currency and Singapore MAS and New York Fed and Boston Fed. And I don't know if Georgia's doing something too, but I'm sure they are, or they're looking at it very closely, so.
Well, even getting outside of finance, right? So if you get outside of finance, the cannabis industry is leveraging blockchain to do from seed to sale. So they're going that whole place. So you know where the seed came from, you know where it was grown, you know when it was harvested, you know where it was processed and when it was processed to where it got delivered to when it was sold. And I mean, it's like you get that whole thing. So you know that you're getting the product that you said you were going to get. And that's even happening in international shipping as well. So you're seeing all of these different areas that typically were very labor intensive to keep track of, cost prohibitive to keep track of it at that level of detail. And now we're going to start to get that level of detail on all of these different things. So it's just going to continue to get and expand outside of that. There hasn't been a technology that I've been more excited about that I can remember, just when I start to think of all the possibilities that fall around blockchain. There are just so many different things, and most of them have nothing to do with finance. It's how do we support all of the commerce that we've got going on? How do we make it more efficient, more safe, more secure? That's really where I see it being. And I'm like,
a ship's
dude,
manifest,
I'm so excited.
A train's manifest, that sort of thing. Cargo on board, right? Freight on board, all that sort of thing. I'm thinking all the cars that are manufactured in other countries, right? And then they come here to the U.S. and they, move from buyer to buyer to buyer until they're, sent to the scrapyard, right? Or they're sent to Ro-Ro, they call it, where they load them onto a ship and they send them to another country and sell them in that market, And it'd be interesting to see how many cars actually wind up exactly where they started from.
I look at it this way. So what if, and this is just something to think about, what if by using blockchain, we never had another lost bag? What if
that company in Tennessee would go out of business? There's a wholesale
the one in Alabama
where you can, Alabama. It's in Alabama. You're right.
It's outside of Birmingham, I believe.
They've had every suitcase that's ever been left behind forever. And oh my God, I saw a report on TV just recently about it. I didn't know about it prior to that. And I think it was a YouTube video, actually, is what it was. But man, was that interesting. Oh my God. I couldn't believe the cross section of the world that they had for sale in that store. Unbelievable. Everything from very, very high end to the most obscure thing you could ever want to find.
So I remember watching one, and I'm going way in a tangent here, but I remember watching one where there was a duct taped banana box full of stuff. It was a banana box. It was just duct taped. But they didn't have anything written on it or anything. So I was like, okay. So as soon as that sticker came off, it was gone. It was gone to the wind. But hey, Bruce, man, we've covered everything. I can't believe we ended up at lost baggage throughout this whole conversation. We ended up at lost baggage. Hopefully we haven't lost you guys on this episode. It has been fantastic. I appreciate everybody listening to us today. If you want to hear more about fintech and other things, Fintech Confidential, we just released an episode from BHMI, the co-founder and the head of sales and marketing, talking about how they are moving forward with real-time payments and providing great back-end services and solutions in that area. So if you haven't taken a listen to that, we've got a whole catalog of other episodes. We have upcoming episodes, CEOs, founders, co-founders, CTOs of many different fintech companies. So just check it out at Fintech Confidential. You can find it on all the different socials or at fintechconfidential.com. And we'd love to have you guys listen. And as always, just hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is. If you have any questions, or go ahead and reach out. And Bruce, what are we hoping to see on Bullet Point Bulletins this week, man?
Well, we're still getting ready to do the one about the buy now, pay later that hasn't been released yet, and the SEC story has not been released yet as a video. But my handle, easy to find, is at Bruce Burke on YouTube, and Plato Data is at Plato Data Intelligence on YouTube. So thanks for watching this week. We did it kind of impromptu. Tedd's on the road, and we had to do it kind of impromptu, but it's really great that we are continuing to do this. I love doing this every week. Please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share on social media, wherever you find this. Track us down and like us there. If you need any short form video done for your organization, created, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll be happy to help you with that. And once again, thanks to the company that powers our show. It's Plato Data Intelligence. It's private. It's trusted. It's secure Web3 data intelligence. If you're looking at your competitors, if you're looking for Web3 information, if you're looking for news that's going on in the space, you go to platodata.ai and you can sign up right there and you learn more. And as always, thank you to Tedd from Fintech Confidential for co-hosting with me here. Once again, it's www.fintechconfidential.com. One of these days, he might even interview me on there. Who knows, kids? Stay tuned and watch all the episodes. I might pop up on there one day, too.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Bruce. Have a great week, and I can't wait until next week where we do this again.
Thanks, Tedd. Have a great, safe travels on your journey, and look forward to seeing you when you get back home.